Hawk Larabee?
Hawk Larabee? That was Elliott Lewis's show.
Yes!
You did him, Virginia.
He produced it.
Yes.
Elliott Lewis and Barton Yarborough.
I have always felt that everybody in the entertainment business should know enough about every part of the entertainment business so that they respect what the other people are doing. Any actor who comes in and mutters about a script should be sat in front of a typewriter and put a piece of yellow paper in the typewriter and say, fade in, interior Lucy's living room day. She comes down the stairs, her hair in curlers. Go. Give me the other 32 pages, and then argue about is this a good script or a bad script. And conversely, the writer, who is, these lines are so precious, should be made to stand in front of an audience and read aloud a bad joke and look like a fool. As the actor does, while the guy, you look into the wings and the writer just went, oh, well. Well, they go, right on, baby. You're standing there with mud on your face. You just made one of those big things, and nothing happened. And the writer's going, oh.
The poet said, east is east and west is west, and never the twain shall meet. And there was one time that Hawk Durango was in full agreement. That was when Susie Kimball came west to marry Nephi Thatcher.
On Independence Day in 1946, CBS debuted a Western as a summer replacement for The Adventures of Maisie. Originating from the Columbia Square Studios in Los Angeles, it was called Hawk Durango and produced and directed by William N. Robson.
Presents Hawk Durango, starring Elliott Lewis.
Larabee was an assignment for me. I did not dream it up. I think probably it was Ernie Martin's idea. Ernie Martin was the program director at that time. He went on to become a very successful theatrical producer with such things as Where's Charlie and Maine. I don't know what his thinking was, but it was decided in the upper reaches of management to try a Western and see what would happen, see if it had any commercial bites. So they put it on Saturday afternoon. I doubt if it went 13 weeks. The original title was Hawk Durango.
Trail weary is right.
Sit right down here, ladies. I'll send someone over and get your baggage.
But we haven't decided whether to stay here or not.
Oh, here's Mr. Durango now.
Oh, welcome to the Gold Bar House, ma'am. You, miss? Chuck-a-luck, get a pitcher of water and glasses.
The stage driver said this was the best hotel in town.
The first incarnation starred Barton Yarborough as Brazos John and Elliott Lewis as Jim Carter.
No idea. We're lost.
Carter was an Easterner who came west, only to learn his father, Hawk Durango, had been murdered. After avenging the killing, Carter decides to stay in his father's town of Sundown Wells. There he runs a hotel and gambling establishment, taking on his father's moniker.
Nephi Thatcher? Well, he's one of the biggest men out here, ma'am. His ranch you're talking about, it's a sheep outfit up yonder in the big mesas.
We know he's one of your biggest men and one of the richest. And Susie is going to marry him. But where is he, I'd like to know.
Chuck-a-luck.
Yes, Hawk?
Run over to the Wells Fargo office and to the Livestock Loan Company. That's where Mr. Thatcher generally hangs out, ma'am. Ask if there's any word of it.
I wouldn't worry, lady. He'll show up. For one thing, the stage got here ahead of schedule.
Fine, how do you do?
In this episode from August 2nd, a woman comes to Sundown Wells for an arranged marriage to a wealthy older rancher. She, however, becomes attracted to Brazos John, who reminds the woman of her father. The episode features William Conrad, Frank Lovejoy, and Junius Matthews.
Brazos John?
Yes, ma'am?
You may think it's strange my coming to speak to you, but I wanted to settle a question in my mind.
Yes, ma'am?
Where have I seen you before?
Well, have you been out west for long?
Well, this is my first day this far west.
Well, I ain't never been east of Texas. Oh, been south across the border off and on when things got to moving too fast, but couldn't be there.
That's funny. You look so familiar.
Just a coincidence, I guess, ma'am.
What are you doing with those cards?
Oh, there?
Mm-hmm.
That's called cascading. You see, it...
Oh, no, I know. That sound. It's like a harp string in my mind. My father, he did that with cards. That's it. You remind me of my father when I last saw him. When I was a little girl.
Oh, maybe we better just sit down here. Everybody's staring at you.
Oh, yes. Yes, of course. I'll be glad to sit down with you, Brazos John.
Well, what you drinking? Oh, excuse me. I didn't mean that.
Oh, yes. I'll have a drink with you.
Did you ever have one before?
No, never.
Well, hey, Pedro, come here.
Yeah, I'm coming, Brazos.
Say, your papa was handy with cards, huh?
Well, I wasn't supposed to know it, but everyone knew he was a professional gambler in New York. You see, I lived with my 3 aunts in Vermont. That was one of them you saw in the lobby.
Well, does Nephi Thatcher know about your papa?
Oh, yes, of course. That's why he's been so particular that my aunts brought me up just right and rode herd on me.
What will it be, Brazos?
Same for me. Something soft for the lady.
See.
They serve good lemon squash here, man. That suits you?
Well, I'll take whatever you're taking.
Make you 2 lemon squashes, Pedro.
Right away, Brazos.
When I said drinks, I didn't mean actual drinks. That wouldn't be right at all. Your bridegroom would know it when you kissed him.
Oh, but I could use sassafras bark. Well, what's wrong with that?
Well, where did you hear about sassafras bark?
My father used it whenever he came up to Vermont to visit me.
I see. And whatever he done was right, huh?
Of course it was.
I'm beginning to think that there's something about Nephi Thatcher's wedding that ain't gonna be all rosy.
There you are, folks. It's the lemon squashes.
Eventually, the woman, her aunt, and fiancé leave town. They are robbed en route to the ranch. Hawk and Brazos, having heard of the impending attack, save their lives. Afterwards, Brazos gives credit to Hawk, telling the woman that he was one of the bandits, so that she'll move on from him to a better life.
You can't let him see you walking out of the casino.
Hawk Durango ended its original run in August, but returned on October 3rd, 1946, as Hawk Larabee.
And then they discovered that Columbia Pictures down the street had released a movie called The Durango Kid, so they figured they better change that. It was a series of stories centered around the main character, whose name was Hawk Larabee, a cowhand on a ranch in Texas, played by Barton Yarborough, who had a wonderful and authentic Texas accent.
Elliott Lewis was no longer with the show. Barton Yarborough now played Hawk. Barney Phillips was added to the cast as Somber Jones. The duo traveled from one location to another, finding adventure along the way.
Come along, folks, and listen to the tale of Hawk Larabee on the Western Trail. Comataya, yippee-yippee-I, yippee-I, Comataya, yippee-yippee-I.
Larabee's the name. Hawk Larabee.
He's rode every trail across the lone prairie, as sure as his name's Hawk Larabee. Comataya, yippee-yippee-I, yippee-I, Comataya, yippee-yippee-I.
Yes, it's Hawk Larabee, starring Barton Yarborough with his exciting stories of the timeless West. Stories of men and women, famous and infamous, who loved and hated, lived and died in the colorful drama of the American West. Stories chronicled for you by Hawk Larabee.
Yep, I'm Hawk Larabee. A lot of folks claim that I was a fiddlefoot, that I couldn't stay put in one place. And it wasn't long before I started to believe in them myself, because I left my old stamping grounds at Sundown Wells and hit the trail. First stop, the gold camp at Mulberry Creek. There wasn't no mulberries that I could see, and the only creek was a ditch of dirty water, full of miners, working rock or a pan, trying to get a trace of that yellow stuff called gold. The new part of town was made of tar paper shanties.
The series was unable to find sponsorship, and in September of 1947, Lewis was brought back as Larabee with Yarborough, once again playing Brazos John. CBS then offered the show for local sponsorship through its cooperative program with affiliates.
The Hawk is on the wing.
Come along, folks, and listen for a spell. Here's Hawk Larabee with a tale to tell. Comataya, yippee-yippee-I, yippee-yay, Comataya, yippee-yippee-yay.
The Hawk's whistle signals another exciting episode in the story of Hawk Larabee, starring Elliott Lewis with Barton Yarborough and the Plainsmen, and produced and directed by William N. Robson.
Comataya, yippee-yippee-I, yippee-yay, Comataya, yippee-yippee-yay.
Brazos, that mob thinks I'm the California Kid, and there's no talking them out of it. If I show my face in Bighorn City, they'll string me up before sundown. I don't fancy myself decorating a cottonwood.
Well, then what's the answer, Hawk?
Find the real California Kid and bring him to justice. Come on, Brazos, we've got a ride.
Yes, the Hawk is on the wing, and Hawk Larabee's riding high in the saddle.
We're in for excitement, so why don't you stay? This Larabee feller has plenty to say.
You know, there've been times when I'd have sold that 1,000-acre Flying H spread of mine for a plugged nickel. What with blizzards and rustlers and all the other hardships that beset the life of a small rancher. But come late spring, my partner Brazos John and I drove nearly 100 head of Black Mesa beef to Bighorn City to market. And got a good price. Enough to stock us with supplies for another year and help build up the herd.
Despite Hawk Larabee's relatively short run, it had at least 5 scriptwriters who took authenticity very seriously.
For authenticity, we employed a man named Kenneth Perkins, who had written a series of Western stories for the Saturday Evening Post. He was quite good and quite knowledgeable in his Western background, or the Western background which could be found in Augustine True Stories and that sort of thing at the time. Now, whether that was authentic or not, I don't know. We would come up with such wonderful words that we'd never heard before, like take a pasear, which meant to go out and look around, or make your play, and it was pretty heavy stuff for us. At least in radio, we hadn't heard these kind of phrases. The dialogue was peppered with it, and then, of course, any time Barton Yarborough turned on that wonderful accent of his, it had a true ring of authenticity. I think what it ended up being was a kind of a pictureless B-grade Western. Same kind of plot and character development that you'd find in a Roy Rogers movie, maybe a cut above. Hawk Never Kissed the Horse.
Yeah, I just don't feel right about nobody being around the Flying H to look after things.
I know. Well, with more good luck, maybe we can hire another hand.
Elliott Lewis, with his New Yorkese, often found it amusing to star in a Western.
The first thing, the Hawk thing, is interesting because I did Hawk first, and then Bart did it. I went on to something else. And that always surprised me because the most unlikely acting job I can think of to assign me to would be a Western hero. And I knew so little about it. I have to tell you something funny that happened. I was playing very, very seriously. I was trying very hard to stay into character. And there was a line that they had written. I think Ejak was writing a great many of these. And he'd written the line that was supposed to be real Western stuff, and I read it as well as I could, and everybody fell apart. And what you will hear, and then you'll fall apart, and then I will tell you how it's spelled on the page, and I didn't see anything funny. And somebody says something or other to Hawk, and Hawk says, okay, I'll be back. So-and-so, and he says, where are you going? And Hawk says, I have to go outside and swab out my Bronx nose. Well, B-R-O-N-C apostrophe S is what real Western talk, and nobody heard that.
We'll do the talking. Keep your gun on him, Billy. Oh, you bet I will. Make or break you, and I shoot to kill.
I got respect for a 5-shooter, don't worry.
I'll take that gun, kid. Now, give me a look at that money belt.
Road agents, huh? What do you think you'll get preying on little ranchers like me?
Find anything, Mal?
Yeah. Look at that, Billy. Enough money in his belt to choke a heifer.
That's our man. Black hat.
Hawk Larabee went off the air after the February 7th, 1948 episode. But working for Bill Robson provided invaluable experience for Elliott Lewis. He would soon become one of the most prolific radio professionals on the air.
Is that right?
Attached to shows like Broadway is My Beat, Suspense, and Escape.